Hello and welcome to GreenFleet Talks. My name is Kate Armitage and I'm your host for our discussion today. I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Beadle, who is head of Ozone at the Grosvenor Group. Hello again, Steve.
Hi, Kate.
Great, good to speak to you. I hope you're well.
Very well, suffering from a slight cough, but yes, okay.
Well, I'm glad you made it today and we appreciate you rallying from your sickbed for us. Okay, so Steve, today you and I are discussing all things electric vans, including the barriers to take up and the challenges around public charging. But before we jump into that, there obviously has been quite a lot of coverage in the news over the last few weeks about the recent announcement that the ICE vehicle end date has been pushed back to 2035, and of course the subsequent announcement on the ZEV mandate. What are your thoughts on how this will affect fleets that are operating vans?
Well, I think it's fair to say that the uptake on electric vans has been pretty slow when compared to the car market, but I guess that'll be partly due to the lack of models available previously, partly due to the challenges around the charging network for van operators. But from what we're hearing, manufacturers are saying that they don't plan to delay their own targets, and the customers that we're speaking to who are committed have said the same, which is great news, great to hear. I suspect those fleets who have been fearing the ban will have a slight sigh of relief. But then if manufacturers are proceeding as your plans proceed as they were, I wonder whether there'll be ICE product available as we approach 2035.
That's a really good point and very valid as well. What the government announces isn't necessarily what the OEMs are going to do. And you're right, there have definitely been some signals that they will be withdrawing their petrol and diesel vehicles from the market, potentially ahead of 2030 in some cases. So I think I agree. I think the message is just carry on. Keep calm and carry on. So, Steve, you kind of just alluded to this, but we all know that the decarbonisation of vans is crucial if we are going to achieve our net zero targets. And it also plays a very big role in improving local air quality in our towns and cities. Despite that, diesel vans are still making up more than 9 out of every 10 new van sales. Do you have any thoughts on why the adoption of electric vans is slower than cars, and what are the barriers that the van operators are facing?
Well, there'll be lots of barriers, which will vary from company to company. And that kind of means there's no off-the-shelf, out-of-the-box solution that can be just applied to all van operators. I guess the reality is that companies over many years have built their existing operations around diesel vans. The routes that they take, the loads they carry in, the number of stops, everything will be based around that diesel van. We recently hosted a commercial vehicle roundtable where we talked to fleets about the challenges they face, and the overriding opinion is that this shift kind of requires a re-engineering or a review of their operations. And importantly requires stakeholder buy-in from across the entire business. But the scope of this will vary from understanding vehicle capabilities through to reassessing the routes, the plans, and the ability to charge. But it's quite a process.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Steve. It's just you look a little bit closer at vans, and it's much more complex in terms of the operational dependencies on those vehicles. And as you say, the operational processes and administration have built up over decades, literally around the capabilities of diesel vans. So you have to, as a business, you really have to be prepared to, take a few steps back and make some significant alterations to how you run your business in some cases. It's a very good point. And the challenges don't stop there either, because when we look at public infrastructure in more detail, there are some challenges for electric van users there as well.
Yeah, again, coming back to our roundtable event, everyone shared concerns, the same sort of concerns around the public charging network, particularly around those charge bays with high restrictions, and concerns around brand reputation. Believe it or not, we've had some customers experience complaints from the public when their sort of branded vehicle was parked using a public charge bay. And I guess ultimately, if you take away those car parks with high restrictions, charge points at shops and slow chargers, at the moment, van operators are not really left with many options. So personally, I feel more investment is required to develop commercial charging areas in suitable locations, which perhaps offer priority charging, fast charging for commercial vehicles. Similar to what we're seeing in the NEC Super Hub, that looks brilliant.
Yeah, although that's not specifically for vans. No. So I mean, it's a debate that I'm not sure how I stand on this, because certainly private car users really treat the public charging network as their own, and as you've said, they don't like to see commercial vehicles using it. I'm not sure the answer is to build something specifically for commercial vehicles either. So I'm not entirely clear how that's going to play out at the moment. But I do know that the more vans we get on the road, the sooner we'll start to see solutions emerging that are fit for purpose for these vans.
It's needed, yeah.
Okay. Now, I always like to ask this question, but for fleets and van operators who are watching this, who haven't yet started their electrification journey, but want to, how would you advise them to go about judging the viability of EVs for their operation?
So our advice will always start with the data. Having a clear understanding of your current vehicle usage, and that can all be gathered from either telematics systems or fleet management providers. And by gathering this, you can then build a foundation to then help support a successful transition. This data will also highlight where electric vans could work straight away, achieving some quick wins compared to where there may be some challenges. And in those examples, it's kind of come with the approach that rather than thinking an EV can't support that current activity, we touched on it earlier, Kate, but try and understand if the route can be changed or that activity can be changed to make EVs work. But this whole exercise may also highlight some underutilized vehicles too, and therefore you have opportunity to maximize efficiency.
Yeah, and this has always been a mantra, not just relating to electric vehicles, but it's particularly pertinent for electric vehicles. Drive efficiency in your existing operations, make financial savings, and those savings can be used to go towards transitioning your fleet to ultra low emission. But easier said than done.
Indeed, yeah.
Okay, and let's take this final question for you, Steve. Let's take this really broad. But what tips would you have for van operators to be more productive and efficient during the working day?
I mean, again, our opinion is that driver education is key to success. And being open to sharing that data we spoke about, sharing that data from telematic systems, from your reviewing processes, share that with the drivers, with your employee base. Also be conscious that many employees may have not driven an automatic vehicle before, let alone an electric vehicle. Driver training, workshops where you can talk about the benefits of moving to electric. And all of this, by involving the drivers and offering them training and workshops, it will help create a positive attitude.
Yeah, and that planning as well. If you do need to charge during the day, making sure that the drivers have the tools that they need to plan their infrastructure and make sure that where they're going, they're going to get the right kind of charge that they need. I completely agree with you. behaviour, driver education is absolutely key here. And it needn't be as painful as people think it might be.
No, and also when you're putting your strategy together, allow for some flex, because technology is emerging so quickly.
Yeah.
So just allow some flex to allow that to come in when it comes.
Yeah, I agree with you. And also, recognise that operationally these drivers are, taking on something new and may need, they themselves may need a little bit of flex as well in terms of getting it right and learning what to do. Well, Steve, thank you very much for your insight. As always, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
And you, Kate.
Thank you. And thank you, of course, to the Grosvenor Group for joining GreenFleet Talks. And thank you for watching. Please tune in to GF365 again soon.